Hello YouTubes, finally time to get started on layout scenery, and I'm going to begin with the corner over there. I have big plans. Well, little plans. It's all relative, right? So my plan is to create a mountain scene in the corner, maybe about halfway up the backdrop, sloping down towards the track. Then there'll be a cut for the track to go through, and then the slope will continue into this area, which will be a national park. And there'll be a lake in the middle, and I'll dig down into the foam. Sounds ambitious. Right, let me show you the materials I'm going to be using. For the base structure, I'm going to be using the leftovers from my foam board. It's just a white styrofoam, cheap and nasty, but it cuts really nice with the hot wire cutter. So that'll be the base foundation of the hill section. Once I've got the rough sort of shape, then I've got all sorts of things like, what is this? Shaper sheet. I've got plaster cloth. I've got Sculpt-A-Mold, and I've got a whole box of rock molds that I can use, most of which were donated by generous subscribers and neighbours like Rick. However, you don't have to use all these fancy things. You can just make it out of cardboard, you can cut cardboard strips, just whatever you've got lying about. Bear in mind, you're going to be covering it with the plaster sheets or just plaster Paris, whatever, to hide all the main structure underneath. So don't get too caught up in that. I'm just using this stuff because I've got it lying about, and it's just taking up space. Okay, let us begin. So the great thing about using styrofoam, it is lightweight and removable, so we don't have to work on it away in the corner. We can work on it right here. Now, this was obviously from the previous layout, and it had 18-inch radius curves. So the new layout with a 30-inch radius curves is going to come to about there, so I can't really use this, but I can use it as a template to measure out the new styrofoam so that it sits against the backdrop nicely. Now, I'm going to have to remove all the green film and the silver film because the hot wire cutter does not like cutting through that plastic, so I need to prepare all my styrofoam before we can get started. Let me do that. See you in a bit. Well, I got some of the film off, but it's a real pain in the neck. You got to pick away at it. In the likes of this, I don't actually need to remove it all because I'm only using like a corner of it. So I'll cut this with a jigsaw, and then we'll start cutting more, layer it on top until we get the height we want, and then we can start molding it with the hot wire cutter. Okay, let's get on with it. Now, I know that looks really high, but it's only going to go up to about there, and then it's going to start sloping at roughly 45-degree angle. So from, say about this point maybe, it's going to end up right up there. And I'll probably go about 2 levels high for the the inside of the cut, maybe 3, and it'll come down, yeah, probably 2 is going to be enough. So from there, sloping, imaginarily slope down to there. Bear in mind, it's got to be high enough for the auto racks, because I'll probably put a, what do you call it, a snow shed over the top. So it really will need to be right up there. So maybe 3 levels of this. Okay, I need to peel all that green stuff off, the silver stuff, glue this together, and then we can start moulding and creating a mountain or something. Well, it turns out I didn't need to peel off all that green and silver film after all. The wire cutter goes through it, no problem. So we've got the basic shape of that half of the mountain. Obviously, still got more to add to the top and shape all that and add all the plaster cloth, etc. I've got my inside part, and I did have to go 3 levels high, but that'll go roughly there. That'll get moulded down, that'll get moulded down, that'll be pointy. The good thing is we can take it over to the table now and do it all, we can get access all the way around it. Now, I must confess, it's actually taken me a week to move this from over there to here. Procrastination hit hard. Now, I had a chat with my wife, the boss, and basically, you know what, it doesn't matter if we mess this up. If anything, it'll add more natural aspect to the whole thing. The main thing is just to get started. If we mess it up, we can throw it in the trash and start again. So where do we start? Let's grab a Sharpie and draw a line to signify the slope going all the way from the start all the way up, and then we can cut the starting angle. We don't need to go from here to that point because we can add in more foam here, so we're not going to waste any really. Any bits we cut off, we can flip them over and let's just do it. So we're going to start right down about here, and it doesn't have to be, in fact you don't want it to be a perfectly straight diagonal. Okay, so we're going to cut everything above that line off. Moving around here, see we can add more stuff here, so we don't need to start down there. We could actually leave this alone. Add stuff. Pretty much leave that actually, and do the same line at the other side. Okay, let's grab the hot wire cutter, trim them down for now. So we can remove our skewers for now. They were just to keep it all together. I have actually marked all the layers together, but once we cut this, we won't have the marks anymore. Now the other thing, I can't just cut it in a nice smooth slope that way. It also has to slope up the way as well. Hopefully my wire cutter is wide enough that we can do that. Let's find out. Okay, not bad, not bad. And we can always transition this sharp angle as well. Yeah, I don't hate it so far. We can always add in a little bit in there just to... Yeah, that would work quite well actually. Because we do kind of want it a bit bumpy. Just trim it a bit off there. Remember, we're going to be adding plaster cloth over all of this, so it doesn't need to be perfect, which is just as well. Okay, so we can use the hot glue gun to attach that bit. I've not attached any of it for now, because it's much easier to get access when it's all apart, but at the moment kind of liking the way this is going. Probably got a wee triangle in there as well just to find the angle. Yeah, something like that. You can glue that in place. And then we can always add a little angle down here if we want that to continue. Okay, let me continue with the hot wire cutter. We'll get our basic shape done, and then I'll bring you back and we can glue it all together. So that's my base structure formed. I still have the top bit to do, but for now, I want to glue all the bits together, and then we'll move on to the peaks. Well then, it's starting to look like a big pile of polystyrene. Don't worry, long way to go. Let's see if we can add some peaks to the top with, oh, I don't know, this sort of thing. So maybe if we add one about there, one there. Needs a bit of trimming, obviously. Maybe a big one there. Smaller one at that side. Well, that could work. Because I don't want a volcano, I do want ridges. So obviously I need to cut the sharp edges off. Bear in mind, I'm going to have plaster cloth draping between these, so it'll kind of form a little valley between each, with maybe little snow channels coming down. From about this point all the way down to here. Let's give it a go. So I need to, wonder if I should glue these down first and then shape them. Oh, who cares? We'll just do it. Let's do it. Let's go. Yep, still looks like a big pile of crap. I think what I'll do, I'm going to go around with the hot wire cutter and just kind of make these a bit more random. Just maybe curve it in there a bit and just rough it up a bit. Remember, I will be putting the plaster cloth on, but things like this straight line, that's going to be really difficult to hide. So let's see what we can do with the hot wire cutter. Just get in here a bit. Just do a wiggly thing. Take a big chunk out of this. Come back in, go down. Makes lovely noises when you do this. Right, let's see what that looks like. That's better. But now we've got this line here that we need to take chunks out of. Yeah. I do have another hot wire tool, which is more like a rod. But I think that'll be okay once we get the plaster cloth on. Let's see, I think, is that the only straightish bit? Maybe I take a wee chunk out over there. And one at the end there. Oh, that's better. Yeah, let's stop at this point before we ruin it, right? Right, time for some plaster cloth. Now, I know that you can get specific plaster cloth for this job, but I'm a cheap Scotsman, so I got something a bit cheaper. I found this plaster cloth on Amazon, 10 rolls of that for around about $50. The equivalent Woodland Scenics roll, which is maybe twice the size of that one, is about $30, so quite a significant saving if it works. Hopefully it will. So I just need to find a container to put water in, and then we cut the roll to different lengths, dip it in the water, slap it on the mountain. Ideally, you want one of those big turkey foil containers, you know, the disposable ones, because it's going to make a big mess. And I don't think my wife would like me using any of the kitchen equipment. Back in a sec. We now have foil container, some plaster cloth, pair of decent scissors, a couple of stiff brushes, cheapy ones you don't mind ruining, and of course, big bottle of water. I also added some extra bumps and slopes and little nodules, just so that it wasn't completely flat. I did a little bit on the end there, and there's a bit of flat bit down there as well, so I went a bit there. Right, enough, let's get started. I'm going to start at this end, but I'm only going to go as high as this section for now. I'm going to be having the cloth coming over and down, over and down, over and down, but for the pointy bits up the mountain, I want them sideways. So let's do these bits first. I'll cut a couple of strips, maybe about 3 to get up to about there, just to make sure it works and we've got the technique down. So let me cut some strips. Right, let's start with 3. I'm doing an overlap of about 2 inches, and I am making them purposely quite long, because this stuff kind of, it doesn't so much shrink, but when you start pushing in little creases, it contracts it a bit. Right, so he's number 3, he's number 2, number 1. Let's get some water in our tray. And we're good to start. Now, from when I did this the last time, you don't need to soak it in the water, just kind of run it through. If you leave it in too long, then all the good stuff kind of runs off. So straight off, we've got a little crease there, which I really don't mind. I want this as natural as possible. I'm just going to tuck it underneath for now. So let's see what happens when we stab it with a brush. Because we do want it to make contact, but we don't want it to be perfectly flat, you know. Yep, that seems to work. Right, let me get the other two on. Excellent. That's gone on quite nice. Long way to go, obviously. I think that's going to work just fine. So I will continue going all the way along with the strips coming over and down, and then we'll pause and we'll have a look at the pointy bits. Summit, let's call it the summits. Summit, ridges. Let's go. So are we any closer to looking like a mountain? Nah, not really. Okay, let's take care of that bit. I'm going to start at the bottom and overlap upwards, and that means that you're less likely to see the overlap if it's coming down. It's the same way you would do a roof, to be honest. So we're going to go, this will need to be quite long because I'll be kind of letting it lie in between the gullies. I don't suppose I have to go all the way around in a one go. Yeah, let's take it round. Yeah, let's take it round there to begin with. Let's not get too ambitious. So I'm giving myself plenty of spare, because as I say, it's going to have to go in like that. Actually, we're going to get all the way around to there, so give it a go. This could be a disaster. So let's get it in there. The brush is kind of digging into it and pulling it back. These edges are a bit sharp, not keen on that. This obviously isn't the final step, by the way. I will of course be adding more sculpt mould and all that kind of stuff. We're just going for the basic shape at the moment. Very, very basic. Okay, it's not too bad there actually. Ugh. Oh, it's all fun and games, eh? That needs to stick there and stick there. Disappear there. Okay, let me continue. And we'll bring you back with that whole section done. With a bit of luck. Do you remember that scene in Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Richard Dreyfuss and the mashed potato? That's me. So I know this just looks like someone's thrown some plaster cloth over some polystyrene, but from a distance, it still looks like someone's just thrown some plaster cloth over some polystyrene. I actually quite like how the top bits come out. That's what I was going for. That sort of, you know that area in Everest where they get up there and then they have to get to the final bit? Not that I've recreated Everest, not by a long shot, but it's not the worst. Obviously still got a lot of work to do. I think we're getting there. I think I'm going to wait for that layer of plaster cloth to dry thoroughly and then go over it with another layer of plaster cloth. So I've used 3 rolls so far. It's not too bad, but I think when I do the ridges next time, I'm going to go down the way because those overlaps, it didn't really work to hide them. And also I think when it's dry, I'm going to add some more little ridges with styrene on these ribs coming down because they're just too flat. So I'll make some of them, glue them down, and then the next layer of plaster cloth on top, and then it should look not too bad. Obviously still get some sculptor mold to do. I've got all sorts of rock molds as well. And if you're worried about the strange flat section, remember this is a cut, it's not a whole mountain. So this will be a machined edge coming all the way around, and I'll make some either rock molds from the Woodland Scenics rock molds or tinfoil rock molds, which actually look pretty good, which I've got over there, which aren't too bad at all. But I might make a new batch with finer cuts, more machine cuts rather than natural falling apart. Oh, that'll be Nicholas at the door to collect his words. Nicholas broke in locos. See you tomorrow or the next day. Bye for now.